I stood in the middle of the grand ballroom, holding a gift box I knew would change everything. The champagne fountains sparkled. The orchestra played Vivaldi. 300 guests in designer gowns laughed and clinked crystal glasses. And I was about to ruin my daughter's wedding reception. Not ruin it, actually. Save it. Hello. My name is Margaret Reynolds, and I live in Queens, New York. I'm 62 years old, a widow. And until that Saturday afternoon in June, most people would have called me quiet, forgettable even. The kind of woman who smiles politely at parties and never causes scenes. They were wrong about the last part. Let me back up. I wasn't always the type to make grand gestures. For most of my life, I kept my head down and my opinions to myself. I worked as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm in Astoria for 34 years. Same desk, same computer, same turkey sandwich for lunch every Tuesday. My husband Daniel died when our daughter Michelle, we call her Shelley, was only 8. Heart attack at 43. No warning. One morning he kissed me goodbye, and by dinner, I was a widow with a mortgage and a second grader who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. I didn't have time to fall apart. I had bills. So I picked up weekend shifts doing data entry. I sold Daniel's tools, his watch, his coin collection. I bought store brand everything and turned our thermostat down to 60 all winter. Shelley wore hand-me-downs from my friend Linda's daughters. We never went on vacation, but we kept the house. People praised me for being strong. What they meant was quiet. I never complained. I never asked for help. I just worked and smiled and pretended everything was manageable. The truth? I was terrified every single day. But Shelley grew up beautiful and smart, despite everything. She got a scholarship to NYU, studied communications, landed a job at a public relations firm in Manhattan. She had her own apartment in Williamsburg, her own paycheck, her own life. I was so proud I could barely breathe sometimes. Then she met Rob Cunningham at a charity gala her firm organized. He was handsome, I'll give him that. Tall, blonde, that easy confidence that comes from never worrying about money. Old money. The kind that whispers instead of shouts. His family owned property all over the city. Apartment buildings on the Upper East Side, commercial spaces in Midtown. Rob himself worked in finance, something with investments I never quite understood. Shelley brought him to Sunday dinner 1 month after they met. He showed up with expensive wine and called me Mrs. Reynolds and complimented my pot roast. He pulled out Shelley's chair. He laughed at my jokes. He seemed perfect. Too perfect, I thought. But I didn't say anything. I never said anything. They got engaged after 6 months. The ring was a 2-carat diamond that probably cost more than I made in 2 years. Shelley was glowing, delirious with happiness. The wedding planning started immediately. Rob's mother Constance took charge, naturally. The venue, the flowers, the dress, all of it way beyond anything I could have afforded. The Cunninghams paid for everything. It's their gift to us, Shelley said when I worried about the cost. Mom, don't stress. They want to do this. I wanted to ask what strings were attached to such expensive gifts, but I kept quiet. Like always, the wedding was beautiful. Shelley looked like a princess in her lace gown. Rob cried when she walked down the aisle. I cried too, but for different reasons I couldn't quite name. The reception was at the Plaza. Can you imagine? The Plaza Hotel. I wore a dress I'd bought on sale at Macy's 3 months earlier. It was navy blue, simple, appropriate. Constance wore Chanel and diamonds that could fund a small country. The gift opening happened after dinner, before the dancing. Constance insisted on it. A Cunningham family tradition, she announced to the room. Shelley and Rob sat in 2 ornate chairs on a small stage, while guests brought gifts forward. Crystal vases, silver picture frames, gift certificates to places I'd never heard of. Constance kept up a running commentary, her voice carrying across the ballroom. Oh, how lovely. From the Hendersons. Tiffany, naturally. The Blackwells always have such taste. Then Constance herself stepped forward with a large white box tied with silver ribbon. She was smiling, but her eyes were cold. I'd noticed that about her before, how her smile never quite reached her eyes. Shelley, darling, Constance said into the microphone. Welcome to the family. I wanted to give you something practical, something you'll use every day in your new role. Shelley opened the box, still smiling. Then her face went blank. She lifted out a black dress, a maid's uniform, complete with a white apron and a frilly headpiece. The ballroom went silent. Someone coughed. The orchestra stopped playing. Constance laughed, bright and brittle. For the house, darling. You'll need it. Rob laughed too. Not uncomfortable, not apologetic. He actually laughed. Yeah, babe. Good one, Mom. You'll definitely need that at home. At home. Like Shelley was the help they'd just hired. I watched my daughter's face crumble. Watched her force a smile. Watched her say, "Thank you, Constance." How? Thoughtful. And something inside me snapped. I stood up. My chair scraped loud against the marble floor. 300 faces turned toward me. I walked to the stage, my heart hammering, carrying the manila envelope I'd been clutching all evening. "Shelley," I said. My voice shook, but I kept going. "I have something for you, too." I handed her the envelope. She opened it, confused. Inside were documents, legal documents with an official seal, a property deed, a house in Brooklyn Heights, 3 bedrooms, original woodwork, a garden in the back, purchased 4 months ago. Paid in full, in Shelley's name, only her name. "It's yours," I said. "Just yours, no one else's. You never have to ask permission to stay. You never have to worry about where you'll go if things get hard. You always, always have a home." Shelley stared at the papers. Tears ran down her face, smearing her makeup. The ballroom erupted, guests whispering, phones coming out. Constance's face turned red, then white. Rob stood up, his jaw tight. "Margaret, this is completely inappropriate," he started. But then his father, Ernest, began to clap. Slow at first, then steady. Ernest Cunningham, 73 years old, owner of half the real estate in Manhattan, was applauding me. "Brilliant," Ernest said loudly. "Absolutely brilliant. Every woman should have her own castle, Margaret. Well done." Other guests started clapping uncertainly. Constance looked like she might faint. Rob's face was stone. And Shelley? She was looking at me like she'd never seen me before. I smiled at her, my quiet, careful smile. "You're going to need more than a maid's uniform, sweetheart. You're going to need a place that's all yours." That was 3 years ago. What happened next? Well, that's a longer story. But it starts with a gift box and a woman who finally stopped being quiet. Because sometimes love means giving your daughter wings. And sometimes it means giving her a fortress. The phone call started the next morning. I woke up at 6, like always, made my coffee, sat at my kitchen table in Queens, looking at the wedding photos Shelley had texted me the night before. She was glowing in every single one. I tried to feel good about that. Then my phone rang. Constance. I didn't answer. She called 4 more times before noon. Left 3 voicemails. I deleted them without listening. Shelley called around 2. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course, honey. Are you okay?" A long pause. "Can you come over? To Rob's place?" Our place, I mean. Rob lived. They lived now in a penthouse in Tribeca, doorman building, marble lobby, the kind of place where I always felt like I should use the service entrance. I took the subway down and arrived at 4:30. Shelley opened the door. She'd been crying. Her eyes were red, swollen. She was still in her pajamas even though it was nearly evening. "Mom," she hugged me hard. "What did you do?" We sat on the white leather couch that probably cost more than my car. The whole apartment looked like a museum. Everything sleek and expensive and cold. No family photos. No personality. Just things that cost money. "Rob's furious," Shelley said quietly. "His mom won't stop calling. She says you humiliated her in front of everyone, that you planned it, that you're trying to ruin our marriage before it even starts. Is that what you think?" "I don't know what to think." She twisted her hands together. "The house, Mom. How did you even afford that? Brooklyn Heights. Do you know what real estate costs there?" I'd been waiting for this question, dreading it. "I saved," I said, "for a long time." "You can't have saved that much. You work at an accounting firm. She stopped, looked at me. "What did you do?" So I told her. I told her about the weekend shifts I'd been working for the past 8 years. Data entry for a medical billing company. $10 an hour, every Saturday and Sunday. I told her about selling my engagement ring last year, the one Daniel gave me. The jeweler offered me $8,000. I took it. I told her about my car. I'd sold it 6 months ago. Took the bus now. Or the subway. Saved $300 a month on insurance and gas. I told her about my mother's china. The set that came from Ireland. The only valuable thing my family ever owned. Sold on eBay for $2,200. Mom, Shelley's voice cracked. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. I looked at her. Really looked at her. My beautiful girl who used to be so bold, so confident, who used to have opinions about everything. And I realized she was asking permission with her eyes, even now, asking if it was okay to be upset, okay to question, okay to exist in a way that might inconvenience someone else. I'd seen that look before, on another woman's face. I need to tell you about your Aunt Lucy, I said. Shelley frowned. Dad's sister? The one who lived with Grandma before she died? Yes, I hadn't talked about Lucy in years. It hurt too much, but Shelley needed to know. Lucy was beautiful, smart, funny, full of dreams. She married a lawyer named Richard when she was 23. He came from money, a good family. They bought a house in Westchester, big and lovely. Lucy quit her job at the library because Richard said wives in his family didn't work. She was happy at first, I said. At least she seemed happy. But Richard made all the decisions. What she wore, who she saw, how she spent her days. And the house was in his name. Everything was in his name. Shelley was very still. When Lucy was 31, she found out Richard was cheating. Had been for years. She confronted him. He told her to accept it or leave. So she said she'd leave. I remembered the phone call. Lucy's voice, small and broken. Margaret, I have nowhere to go. Richard kicked her out the next day. Locked her out of the house. Her house, the one she'd lived in for 8 years. Decorated. Cared for. But it wasn't her house. Not legally. He filed for divorce. His lawyers were vicious. Lucy got almost nothing. She had no recent work history, no savings of her own. She moved back in with our mother, slept in her childhood bedroom. She was never the same after that. Mom, I'm sorry, but that was a long time ago. Things are different now. Are they? I met her eyes. Shelley, what's in your name? Just yours? She blinked. What do you mean? This apartment. Is your name on the lease? It's Rob's place. He owned it before we met. Your bank account. Is it joint now? We're married, Mom. Of course it's joint. Your car? A pause. I sold it. Rob said we didn't need 2 cars in the city. Your job. Are you still working? Another pause. Longer. I'm taking some time off. Rob thinks it makes sense while we settle into married life. His mom has all these charity events, social things. It's practically a full-time job. I felt cold all over. So you have no car, no separate money, no job, no apartment in your name. I have a husband, Shelley said, but her voice was small. I don't need those things. Rob takes care of me. What if he doesn't? Mom, stop. You're being paranoid. Rob loves me. He's not Richard. This isn't the 1980s. No, it's worse, because at least Lucy knew she was trapped. You don't even see the cage yet. Shelley stood up. I think you should go. Shelley, I said go. You crashed my wedding. You insulted my husband's family. And now you're trying to poison my marriage with some story about an aunt I barely remember. I know you mean well, but you don't understand. This is different. Rob is different. I stood slowly. My knees ached. When had I gotten so old? Keep the house, I said quietly. Please. You don't have to live there. You don't even have to tell Rob about it if you don't want to. Just keep it. For me, I don't want it. It's weird, Mom. Who buys their daughter a house as a wedding gift? It's like you're expecting my marriage to fail. I'm expecting you to have choices. We stood there, facing each other. My daughter, my girl, looking at me like I was the enemy. I'll talk to Rob about it, she finally said. We'll figure something out. Maybe we can sell it. Use the money for… No. The word came out harder than I meant. It's in your name, a trust. You can't sell it without my permission until you're 35. I made sure of that. Shelley's face changed. You what? I protected you. Even from yourself if necessary. Get out. Her voice was ice. Get out of my house. It's not your house, I said quietly. That's the whole problem. I left. Rode the subway back to Queens. Sat in my small, shabby apartment that I owned outright. Mortgage paid off years ago with Daniel's life insurance. Everything in it was old and worn. But it was mine. All mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Shelley. Don't contact me for a while. I need space. Then another buzz. Rob this time. I didn't have his number saved, but I recognized it from the wedding planning. You need to undo whatever you did with that house. This is affecting Shelley's mental health. She's crying because of you. Fix this or we'll have to take legal action. Legal action against a mother who gave her daughter a home. I sat there in the dark for a long time. Thought about Lucy, who died at 56 in our mother's guest room, never having recovered from the loss of everything she thought was hers. Thought about Constance's smile when she handed Shelley that maid's uniform. Thought about Rob's laugh. Yeah, babe, you'll definitely need that at home. I made a decision then. Shelley could be angry. Rob could threaten lawyers. Constance could badmouth me to all her society friends. I didn't care. I've been quiet my whole life. Quiet when Daniel died and left me drowning. Quiet when Lucy fell apart. Quiet through every hardship, every slight, every moment I should have spoken up. Not anymore. I opened my laptop and searched for family lawyers in Manhattan, the expensive ones, the ones who specialized in protecting women's assets. I made a list of 5 names. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work. Told them I needed a week off for a family emergency, because this was an emergency. My daughter just didn't know it yet. I'd given Shelley a house. Now I needed to make sure she understood why she needed it. And if that meant losing her for a while, if it meant she hated me, called me crazy, cut me out of her life, well, I could live with that. I couldn't live with burying another woman who had nowhere to go. 3 weeks of silence. Shelley didn't call, didn't text, didn't respond when I sent her a simple, thinking of you message. I forced myself not to reach out again. She needed space. I told myself that every morning when I woke up and every night before bed. I kept working my regular job, kept taking the bus, kept my routine. But everything felt different now, like I'd stepped off a cliff and was waiting to see if I'd sprout wings or just fall. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, Ernest Cunningham called me. Margaret, it's Ernest, Rob's father. Do you have a moment? I was at my desk, staring at a spreadsheet that wouldn't balance. Mr. Cunningham, I'm surprised to hear from you. Call me Ernest, please. Listen, I was wondering if you might meet me for coffee. There's something I'd like to discuss. We met the next day at a small cafe in Murray Hill. Not his usual world, no mahogany panels or waiters in bow ties. Just a normal place with normal coffee. Ernest looked tired, older than he'd seemed at the wedding. He ordered black coffee and didn't touch it. I wanted to apologize, he said, for my wife's behavior at the reception. That gift was cruel. I told her so. Thank you. I also wanted to tell you something. He looked around, then leaned forward. You did the right thing with the house. I hadn't expected that. Rob doesn't think so. Rob's my son, and I love him, but he's become someone I don't entirely recognize. Ernest's voice was heavy. Constance raised him. I was always working, building the business. I told myself I was providing for my family. Truth is, I just wasn't there. And Constance filled his head with ideas about how the world works. Who matters? Who doesn't? Why are you telling me this? Because I had a daughter once. He said it quietly. Caroline. She died 23 years ago. I waited. She married young, a man Constance and I approved of. Good family, good prospects, similar background. We thought it was perfect. Ernest finally took a sip of his coffee. His hand shook slightly. He was charming at first, then controlling, then violent. Caroline tried to leave him twice. Came home with bruises she tried to hide, but she always went back. She had nowhere else to go, you see. No money of her own, no independence. We'd raised her to be decorative, suitable, Dependent. My throat felt tight. She died in a car accident, but she was running away from him when it happened. The police told us later. She'd packed a bag, taken what little cash she had. The accident happened on Route 80, 3 in the morning. She was trying to make it to her friend's place in Pennsylvania. I'm so sorry. I see Caroline sometimes when I look at Shelley. Ernest met my eyes. That brightness, that trust, that willingness to believe love conquers everything. And I see my son becoming the kind of man his mother thinks is respectable, the kind who believes control is the same as care. Has he hurt her? Not physically, not yet. But Margaret, there are other ways to hurt someone, other ways to trap them. I thought about Shelley's texts, the ones that had stopped coming, the silence. I can't talk to Rob anymore. Ernest continued. He doesn't hear me. Constance has convinced him I'm going soft in my old age. But I wanted you to know whatever happens, whatever you need, I'm willing to help. Financially, legally, whatever it takes. Why? Because I couldn't save Caroline. Maybe I can help save Shelley. We sat there for a moment. Two people who'd failed in different ways, hoping for a second chance. Keep that house in Shelley's name, Ernest said. Don't let them pressure you into changing it. Promise me. I promise. He left cash on the table and walked out. I watched him through the window. This wealthy old man who'd lost everything that mattered. I went home, made dinner, watched television without seeing it. At 9:30, my phone rang. Shelley, Mom? Her voice was strange, tight. Can you come over? Now? Please. I need a sound in the background, a door closing. I need you to come now. I'm on my way. I grabbed my purse and ran. The subway took forever. Every stop felt like an hour. I kept calling Shelley back, but she didn't answer. Just that one call, then nothing. I got to the Tribeca building at 10:40. The doorman knew me from the wedding planning visits. Miss Reynolds. Mr. and Miss Cunningham aren't expecting you. My daughter called me. It's an emergency. He hesitated, then nodded. Penthouse B. I took the elevator up, my heart hammering. The doors opened. I knocked on the apartment door. Nothing. I knocked harder. Shelley? It's Mom. The door opened. Rob stood there, blocking the entrance. He was in a dress shirt and slacks, like he'd just come from work. His face was perfectly calm. Margaret, it's late. Shelley called me. She's sleeping. She had a migraine earlier. Took some medication. I need to see her. That's not a good idea right now. She's been very stressed lately. Emotional. The doctor thinks she might be pregnant, actually, so we're being extra careful. Everything in his tone was reasonable. Concerned husband. Protective. Caring. But he wasn't moving. Wasn't letting me in. Let me see my daughter. Like I said, she's resting. Why don't you call tomorrow? We can set up a proper visit. She called me 30 minutes ago. She was confused. The medication does that sometimes. Makes her anxious. Imagine things. It's actually one of the reasons I've been worried about her mental state. My blood went cold. Mental state. He was building a narrative. Shelley's unstable. Shelley's confused. Shelley can't be trusted. Rob, move aside. I don't think so. His voice hardened. You've caused enough problems. Shelley was fine until you pulled that stunt at our wedding. Now she's anxious all the time, questioning everything, unable to just be happy. My mother was right about you. You're toxic. Mom? Shelley's voice, faint, from somewhere inside the apartment. I'm here, honey. Rob's jaw clenched. You need to leave. Now. Or I'm calling security. Shelley! I raised my voice. Come to the door. She can't. Rob's expression didn't change. She locked herself in the bedroom during her episode earlier. For her own safety. I've been trying to calm her down all evening. That's a lie. Open that bedroom door right now or I'm calling the police. And tell them what? That a husband is taking care of his sick wife? That he's protecting her from her overbearing mother, who crashes weddings and tries to manipulate her into thinking her marriage is failing. We stared at each other. I saw it then, the thing I'd sensed but couldn't name, the cold calculation behind his handsome face, the absolute certainty that he was in control. This was a man who locked doors and called it protection. Mom, please! Shelley's voice again, louder now, desperate. He won't let me out. He took my phone. Rob's face didn't change. See? confused, paranoid. It's the hormones and the medication. The doctor warned us this might happen. I pulled out my phone. You call the police, and I'll tell them Shelley's having a psychiatric emergency. Rob said calmly that she's delusional, possibly a danger to herself, that you're enabling her delusions. I have text messages from her, erratic, emotional. I've been documenting everything. You son of a bitch. I'm protecting my wife from you, from her own instability. When she's calmer, when she's thinking clearly, she'll thank me. I thought about Lucy, about Caroline, about every woman who'd been told she was crazy when she tried to escape. Not my daughter, not Shelley. I pushed past Rob. He grabbed my arm, but I yanked free and ran toward the hallway. 3 doors, 2 open, 1 closed. I pounded on the closed one. Shelley! Mom! Her voice cracked. He locked it from the outside. I can't get out. Rob was behind me now. Margaret, you're trespassing. Leave immediately, or what? You'll lock me in a room too? I looked at the door. Standard apartment lock. I could see the mechanism had been tampered with, something wedged under the door from the outside. A wooden shim. Move that block. Now. No. I grabbed a heavy brass lamp from the hallway table and swung it at the doorknob. Hard. The base connected with a crack. Rob lunged forward, but I swung again. The knob bent. Again. The wood around the lock splintered. Stop! You're destroying property! Then open the door. One more swing. The lock gave way. The door crashed open. Shelley stood there, tears streaming down her face, still in her pajamas. Her phone was in pieces on the floor. Her wedding ring sat on the nightstand, like she'd tried to take it off and gave up. I dropped the lamp and pulled her into my arms. She collapsed against me. He said I was being irrational, that I needed to calm down. I just wanted to visit you, and he said no. Said it wasn't good for me. Said you were making me sick. And when I got upset, he locked me in here. Said it was for my own good. I held her tighter. Looked at Rob over her shoulder. He stood in the hallway, his face white with rage. She's pregnant. She's unstable. You're making everything worse. You locked your pregnant wife in a bedroom. To protect her. From what? From you. From her own bad decisions. From throwing away everything I'm trying to give her. There it was. The truth under all the reasonable words I'm trying to give her, like Shelley was a child, a possession, something to be managed and controlled. We're leaving, I said. You're not taking her anywhere. Watch me. I guided Shelley toward the door. She was shaking. Rob moved to block us, but I stared him down. You put one hand on either of us, and I will make sure everyone knows what you did tonight. Ernest, your business partners, every single person at that wedding. I will tell them all that you locked your pregnant wife in a room because she wanted to see her mother. Rob's hands clenched into fists. For a moment, I thought he might actually hit me. Then his expression smoothed into something worse. Contempt. Go ahead. Run to your little house in Brooklyn. Hide like a child. But you're my wife, Shelley. Legally. And when you come crawling back, because you will, we're going to have a very long conversation about boundaries and respect. Shelley flinched, but she didn't stop moving. We made it to the elevator. The doors closed. And then we were dropping down, away from the penthouse, away from Rob. Shelley sobbed the entire ride. I held her hand and said nothing. The doorman looked alarmed when we stumbled through the lobby. I just kept walking. Outside, the night air was cool. Traffic rushed past. Normal people living normal lives. Where are we going? Shelley whispered. I hailed a cab. Home. Your home. We drove to Brooklyn Heights, to the little 3-bedroom house with the garden. I'd kept the keys with me always, just in case. The house was empty, dark, but it was clean, safe. Ours. I turned on the lights. Shelley stood in the living room, looking around like she'd never seen it before. Mom, what just happened? You got out, I said. That's what happened. She sank onto the floor and cried. I sat beside her and held my daughter while she fell apart. And I thought about Ernest's daughter, Caroline, about Aunt Lucy, about all the women who didn't have a house to run to. Not Shelley, never Shelley. Outside, my phone buzzed. A text from Rob. This isn't over. I deleted it and turned off my phone. He was right. It wasn't over. It was just Beginning. Shelley stayed with me in the Brooklyn house for 5 days. We didn't talk about Rob, didn't talk about what happened. She slept 16 hours the first day, curled up in the bedroom that was now hers. I made her soup, tea, toast, the things my mother used to make me when I was sick. On the 6th day, she asked for her phone back. I'd been keeping it, turning it off whenever Rob called, which was constantly, 20, 30 times a day. Voicemails I deleted without listening. Text messages that started apologetic and ended threatening. I need to talk to him, Shelley said. I can't just disappear. You didn't disappear. You left. Mom, he's my husband. He locked you in a room. He was scared. I was acting. She stopped herself. The pregnancy hormones make me emotional sometimes. Stop. I set down my coffee cup. Don't do that. Don't make excuses for him. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to understand what happened. What happened is he showed you who he is. Shelley's eyes filled with tears. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe if I just calmed down like he asked. Then what? He would have let you out? Shelley, listen to yourself. You're pregnant, and he trapped you. Don't call it that. What else would you call it? She didn't answer, just held out her hand for the phone. I gave it to her. What choice did I have? She went into the bedroom and closed the door. I heard her voice, low and murmuring, then louder, then crying. She came out an hour later. Her face was blotchy, her eyes red. He wants to meet, talk things through. He says he's sorry. He says he'll get help, go to therapy, whatever I need. No. Mom, you can't tell me what to do. I'm not telling you. I'm begging you. Don't go back there alone. I'm not going back. Just meeting him. Coffee. Public place. I need to hear him say it, that he knows what he did was wrong. I wanted to lock her in the house. Keep her safe the way Rob had tried to keep her captive. But that would make me just like him, wouldn't it? Where? I asked. That cafe near his office. Tomorrow at 2. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. This is between me and Rob. Then I'll sit at another table, far away. You won't even know I'm there. Shelley looked at me for a long moment. You really don't trust him. No, I don't. Fine. But you stay out of sight. Promise. I promise. The next day, I followed her to the cafe in Midtown, watched her walk in wearing jeans and a sweater, looking small and young and scared. I waited 5 minutes, then entered, and took a seat in the back corner. Ordered coffee I wouldn't drink. Rob was already there. He stood when Shelley arrived, tried to hug her. She stepped back. They sat down. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see Rob's face. Earnest, concerned, wounded. He reached across the table for her hand. She let him take it. My stomach twisted. They talked for 20 minutes. Shelley cried. Rob cried too. He kept shaking his head, pressing his hand to his chest like his heart was breaking. I watched my daughter soften, watched her lean forward, watched her nod. No. No, no, no. Rob pulled out his phone, showed her something on the screen. Shelley's face changed, went pale. She tried to pull her hand back, but Rob held on, still talking. His voice urgent now, even though I couldn't hear the words. Shelley stood up suddenly. Let go. Rob stood too. Babe, please, just listen. You're lying. You have to be lying. I'm not. Look at the documents. Look at what she did. People were starting to stare. I got up, started moving toward them. Your mother doesn't care about you. She cares about controlling you. That house? It's not a gift, Shelley. It's a cage. That's not true. Then why can't you sell it? Why did she put it in a trust you can't access? Why did she make all these rules about what you can and can't do with your own property? To protect me. From what? From me? I'm your husband. I love you. But she's convinced you I'm some kind of monster, so you'll stay dependent on her. So you'll need her. I was close enough now to hear everything. Close enough to see the documents Rob had on his phone. Legal papers. The trust I'd set up. Shelley. I said her name quietly. She spun around. You said you'd stay away. I know. I'm sorry. But he's twisting everything. Let me explain. Rob's face lit up with triumph. Of course she's here. She's been following you, watching you, controlling your every move. That's not true. I was worried. I wanted to make sure you were safe. Safe from what? Rob's voice rose. From me? Her husband? The man she married? Margaret, you're obsessed. You can't let go. You can't let Shelley be an adult. You locked her in a bedroom. The cafe went silent. Everyone's staring now. Rob's expression shifted, became something soft and sad. I didn't lock anything. She was having a panic attack and I gave her space. She locked the door herself because she was overwhelmed. I was terrified she'd hurt herself, hurt the baby. When you showed up and started breaking things, you made everything worse. That's not what happened, I said, but my voice sounded uncertain even to myself. Isn't it? Rob looked at Shelley. Tell her the truth. Did I lock you in? Or were you upset and needed space? Shelley's face was white. The door was. I couldn't. You were panicking. I understand that, but I never locked you anywhere. I would never do that. But the shim, under the door, I saw it when we left. What shim? Shelley, there was nothing under the door. You locked it from the inside. I couldn't have locked you in even if I wanted to. I felt the ground shifting. Had there been a shim? Or had I imagined it in my panic? You're gaslighting her, I said. This is what abusers do. They make you doubt what you remember. And this is what controlling mothers do. Rob turned to the people watching. She crashed our wedding, gave my wife a house she can't actually use. Now she's trying to destroy our marriage because she can't stand that Shelley doesn't need her anymore. Shelley does need me. She called me that night. She was terrified. She was confused. Pregnant women experience all kinds of emotional changes. I've been researching it, trying to understand. Don't you dare. My voice came out sharp. Don't you dare use her pregnancy as an excuse. Mom, please. Shelley's voice was small. Just stop. Sweetheart, listen to me. No, you listen. She turned to face me fully. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know what's real anymore, but I know this. You've never trusted me to make my own decisions. Not about Rob, not about my life. You gave me a house but made it so I can't sell it, can't rent it, can't even make my own choices about it until I'm 35. What kind of gift is that? It's protection. It's control. Tears streamed down her face. You're just like him. Both of you want to decide what's best for me. Both of you think I'm too stupid or too weak to know my own mind. That's not fair, isn't it? You've been managing my life since Dad died. And now you can't handle that I'm married? That I have someone else? That I don't need you the same way anymore. Each word was a knife. I stood there bleeding while my daughter spoke. Maybe Rob was wrong that night. Maybe he wasn't. But you know what? You were wrong too. Coming here, following me, treating me like a child who can't meet her own husband for coffee without supervision. I was trying to protect you. From what? From making my own mistakes? From living my own life? Rob put his arm around Shelley. She didn't pull away. Come home, babe, he said softly. Please. We'll work this out. Just us. No interference. No drama. Just two people who love each other trying to build a life. I can't, Shelley whispered. Yes, you can. Rob's voice was so gentle, so reasonable. Your mom's house will always be there. You can visit anytime, but our home is together. Our family is each other. And our baby deserves to grow up with both parents under one roof. Shelley looked at me. Mom, I need you to let me go. Shelley, I mean it. I need space. From you. From this. I need to figure out my own life without you deciding everything. He locked you in a room. You don't know that. You weren't there when it started. You just assumed the worst because you always assume the worst about him. Because my instincts are screaming that something's wrong. Your instincts, Mom. Not mine. Yours. Shelley stepped closer to Rob. I'm going home with my husband, and I don't want you to contact me for a while. A month. Maybe longer. I need to think. Please don't do this. I have to. They walked out together, Rob's hand on her back. Protective. Possessive. I couldn't tell which. I stood there in the cafe while everyone pretended not to stare. I'd lost her. I'd tried to save her and lost her in the same breath. Outside, my phone rang. Ernest. Margaret? I heard what happened. Rob called me. He's saying well. He's saying a lot of things. Are you all right? No. Where are you? I told him. Stay there. I'm coming. 20 minutes later, Ernest walked into the cafe, sat down across from me, ordered 2 whiskeys even though it was 3 in the afternoon. Tell me everything. he said. So I did. The whole story. The night I pulled Shelley out. What I saw. What I heard. The door. The wedge. Ernest listened without interrupting. Do you believe me? I asked when I finished. He was quiet for a long time. Yes, I believe you. But Margaret, belief isn't proof. And Rob's very good at making people doubt themselves. He learned from the best. Constance. And me. Ernest's voice was heavy. I taught him that power means never admitting you're wrong. That control looks like care if you package it correctly. I didn't mean to, but I did. What do? You wait. You stay close enough that she can reach you when she needs you. And she will need you, Margaret. I promise you that. What if she doesn't realize it until it's too late? Ernest met my eyes. Then you break down another door, just like you did before. We sat there drinking whiskey in the afternoon while my daughter went home with a man who'd convinced her that her own mother was the real enemy. And I thought about all the ways love can look like its opposite. How protection becomes control. How care becomes cage. How the people who hurt us most are the ones who claim they're only trying to help. I'd given Shelley a house, a fortress, an escape route, but I couldn't make her use it. That night, alone in the Brooklyn house that felt too big and too empty, I made a decision. I would wait, like Ernest said, but I would also prepare, because when Shelley finally saw the truth, and she would, I had to believe she would. I needed to be ready to help her fight. I opened my laptop and started researching. Domestic abuse, coercive control, legal definitions, court precedents. I made lists. Documented everything I could remember. Times, dates, conversations. I called a lawyer, the best family attorney in New York City. Made an appointment. I wasn't giving up on my daughter. Not now, not ever. Even if she'd given up on me. 6 weeks passed without a word from Shelley. I went to work. Came home, ate dinner alone. The Brooklyn house sat empty except for the few times I went to check on it. Water the plants I'd put in the garden. Make sure everything was ready for when she needed it. If she needed it, Ernest called me every few days. Any news? No. She'll come around. I wanted to believe him. The lawyer I'd hired, Patricia Chen, 52, sharp as a razor, told me to document everything. Keep a journal. Save every text, every voicemail, every scrap of evidence. If this goes where I think it's going, Patricia said, you'll need a paper trail. I didn't ask where she thought it was going. I already knew. Then, on a Thursday morning in October, Shelley called. Mom? Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm here, baby. What's wrong? Can you come get me? Please? I'm at the CVS on Madison and 81st. I'm coming. Stay where people can see you. I called a cab. Couldn't wait for the subway. The ride uptown took 23 minutes that felt like 23 hours. Shelley was sitting on a bench outside the pharmacy, wearing sunglasses even though it was overcast. A small overnight bag sat at her feet. I paid the driver and got out, walked slowly toward her, afraid sudden movement might spook her. Shelley, she looked up, took off the sunglasses. Her left eye was swollen shut, purple and black, the kind of bruise that takes a fist to make. I stopped breathing. It was an accident, she said quickly. We were arguing and he threw his phone, and it hit me. He didn't mean to. He was aiming for the wall. I knelt down in front of her, looked at that ruined eye, at my daughter's beautiful face, marked by violence. Okay, I said softly. Let's go home. He's been calling. He knows I left. He's saying if I don't come back, he'll... Her voice broke. He'll tell everyone I'm an unfit mother, that I'm mentally unstable. He has recordings, Mom, of me crying, of me yelling. He says he'll use them to take the baby. He won't. I promise you, he won't. We got in another cab, went to Brooklyn. Shelley didn't speak the whole ride. Inside the house, I made her tea. She sat at the kitchen table, one hand on her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant now. She'd grown so much in the weeks I hadn't seen her. Tell me everything, I said. So she did. The first hit came 3 weeks after she went back to him. Not a hit, really. A shove. During an argument about money, she'd wanted to buy baby clothes, and he said she was being wasteful. She pushed back. He pushed harder. She fell. bruised her hip. He cried afterward, Shelley said he'd never forgive himself. Bought me flowers, made me breakfast in bed for a week. Then it was her phone. He wanted the password. She refused. He grabbed it from her hand, squeezed her wrist so hard it left marks, got into her phone anyway, read all her messages, deleted the ones from me. I should have left then, she whispered. But I kept thinking about what he said at the cafe, about me being hormonal, about overreacting. I thought maybe I was making it worse. Maybe if I just tried harder to be calm, to be understanding. Shelley, no, this isn't your fault, isn't it? You warned me, Ernest warned me. Even his sister tried to tell me something once, but I didn't want to hear it. I chose this. You chose love. He chose violence. Those aren't the same thing. She started crying, the kind of crying that comes from deep inside. Months of held breath finally released. I held her while she sobbed. My girl, my baby, marked and broken, and still so brave for leaving. When she finally stopped, I made the call I'd been preparing for. Patricia answered on the first ring. Margaret? She's here. We need help. Patricia arrived 90 minutes later with a colleague, a young woman named Sarah who specialized in domestic violence cases. They photographed Shelley's eye, her wrist, the old bruise on her hip that had faded to yellow-green. They recorded her statement. Every detail, every incident. We'll file for an emergency restraining order first thing tomorrow, Patricia said. Divorce papers next week. And we'll fight any custody claim he makes. The photographs, your testimony, the pattern of escalation, it's strong. He has money, Shelley said. His lawyers are not as good as me. Patricia smiled. And Ernest Cunningham has already called offering to cover all legal fees. We're not fighting this alone. After they left, Shelley and I sat in the living room. The house was quiet, safe. Ours. I'm sorry, she said, for what I said at the cafe. You were right about everything. I wasn't right. I was terrified. There's a difference. You gave me this house. I didn't understand why. I thought it was about control. It was about control, just a different kind. I took her hand. I was so afraid you'd end up like Lucy, like Caroline, like all the women who had nowhere to go. But I gave you the house for the wrong reasons at first. Not to give you freedom, but to protect you from my own fears. It saved me anyway. No, sweetheart. You saved yourself. You made the choice to leave. The house was just a place to land. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat there as the sun set, painting the living room walls gold and orange. What happens now? Shelley asked. Now you rest, heal, have your baby, and we take it one day at a time. What if I'm not strong enough? You're stronger than you know. You just proved that. The legal battle was brutal. Rob fought the restraining order, claimed Shelley was lying, manipulating, trying to keep him from his child. Constance hired her own lawyers to support him, made statements to the press about vindictive ex-wives and false accusations. But Patricia was better. Sarah was relentless. And Ernest, true to his word, stood with us, testified about his daughter Caroline, about the patterns he'd seen in Rob, about the phone being thrown because it turned out the building's hallway. Security camera had caught Rob in the elevator immediately after, his knuckles red and swollen. The judge granted the restraining order, then full custody pending further hearings. Shelley gave birth in November, a daughter. She named her Ellen, after my mother. I was in the delivery room, held Shelley's hand, watched my granddaughter enter the world screaming and perfect and already loved beyond measure. Rob wasn't there. Legally, couldn't be within 500 feet. He sent flowers anyway. White roses with a card that said, I'll always love you both. Shelley had them thrown away. The divorce took 8 months to finalize. Rob dragged it out as long as he could. But in the end, there was too much evidence, too many witnesses. Even Constance couldn't spin her way out of the truth. Shelley got full custody, child support, and the Brooklyn house remained solely in her name, just as I'd planned. Rob remarried a year later, another young woman, pretty and trusting. I heard through Ernest that she left him after 4 months, filed her own restraining order. Some men never change. Constance never spoke to us again. Ernest died 2 years after Ellen was born. Heart attack. Peaceful in his sleep. He left Shelley a trust fund for Ellen's education. Left me a letter. Thank you for saving the daughter I couldn't save. For being braver than I ever was. For teaching an old man that it's never too late to choose the right side. I keep that letter in my nightstand. Read it sometimes when I doubt myself. Today, Shelley lives in the Brooklyn house with Ellen, who's 3 now and asks 1,000 questions a day. Shelley went back to work. Got promoted twice. She's dating someone, Jeff, a kindergarten teacher who thinks Ellen is hilarious and brings Shelley coffee without being asked, and has never once raised his voice. I asked her once if she thought she'd marry again. Maybe, she said, but not because I need to, because I want to. And if I do, I'll make sure Ellen knows what I learned. What's that? That love isn't about needing someone. It's about choosing them every day, freely. Sometimes Ellen asks about her father. Shelley tells her the truth in child-sized pieces. Daddy made some bad choices. He hurt people, so he can't see us right now. Will he ever? I don't know, baby. Maybe when you're older, if he gets help, if things change. But right now, we're safe. And that's what matters. Last week, Ellen asked me why we needed the house. So you always have somewhere to go, I told her. But I live here already. I know, but someday, when you're grown up, you need to know you can leave anywhere that doesn't feel right, that you're never trapped, that you always have choices. She thought about this seriously. Like a superhero hideout? Exactly like that. She seemed satisfied with this answer. I think about Lucy sometimes, about how different her life might have been with a house in her name, a place to land when everything else fell apart. I think about Caroline, who died running toward freedom she never reached. I think about all the women who don't have houses, who don't have choices, who are trapped by money or fear or love twisted into something unrecognizable. And I think about the house in Brooklyn Heights, how it's more than brick and mortar. It's permission, it's possibility, it's a door that swings both ways. You can stay, or you can go. But the choice is always yours. That's what I wanted to give Shelley. Not a house, a choice. She made the right one, even when it was the hardest one. And that's the thing about real love, I've learned. It doesn't lock doors. It doesn't take phones or passwords or freedom. Real love gives you wings. And then it trusts you to decide if you'll fly. Shelley flies now. So does Ellen. And I watch them both. From my little apartment in Queens, knowing I gave them the only gift that ever really mattered. The choice to leave. And the knowledge that someone will always leave the light on, waiting for them to come home. Not because they have to, because they want to. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to tell, but I hope it helps someone out there who might need to hear it. If this story touched you, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to Grandmama Radio. Give us a thumbs up and turn on notifications. We share stories like mine every week. Real experiences from real people about family, love, and finding strength when life gets hard. Your support helps us reach more people who need to know they're not alone. Thank you again, and remember, you always have choices. Always.